Well, it looks like it is about 6:30, so time to get things rolling with tonight's program. My name is Jim Parsons. I'm Programs Director for Preservation Houston, and I'm so happy that you're all joining us for Preservation in Practice, the HCC Fashion Archive. I know it's a busy time of year, and there's a lot going on today, needless to say, so thank you for taking some time out to spend with us. If you're a member of Preservation Houston, thank you so much for your support. Free access to our programs is one of the benefits of your membership. And if you are not yet a member, you're welcome to join online anytime at preservationhouston.org/join. You'll find information about membership levels and benefits on the website, as well as more information about Preservation Houston and who we are and what we do. Tonight's program is part of the Bart Truxillo program series, which is named in memory of the Preservation Houston co-founder and pioneering preservationist, and supported by donations from our members and friends. If you'd like to support online and in-person programming or make a donation in Bart's memory, please visit preservationhouston.org/donate. And I need to say, Preservation Houston is supported in part by a grant from the City of Houston through Houston Arts Alliance. And now it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker, Erica Hubbard. She is a native Houstonian and Director of Library Services at Houston Community College System's Central College. In addition to her regular role, she's been spearheading digitization efforts within the Fashion Archive and has secured more than $100,000 in grant funding for the initiative since 2017. Before she arrived at HCC Central College, Erica was Library Department Chair at the Community College of Qatar, a joint venture between HCC and the Qatari government, where she established academic libraries from the ground up in Doha. She holds a master's degree from Drexel University in Philadelphia and a bachelor's from Texas Southern University here in Houston. When she's not at work, you will find her gardening, which maybe you can come back and do a presentation about that too. Erica, I really do appreciate you being with us tonight. I am so excited that we're getting the chance to look at a different aspect of preservation, and I'm really looking forward to learning about the Fashion Archive. So I am going to turn things over to you, and I will see you a bit later for the Q&A.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm super excited to talk about fashion preservation in Houston and the fashion preservation initiative that's been happening at Houston Community College. Right now, you're looking at a Chanel pink, gold, and purple three-piece wool suit that includes a pink cellophane check blouse from the 1960s that was donated to Houston Community College from Lynn Wyatt. And this is just an example of the type of garments we collect for our students to study at Houston Community College. The Fashion Archive was started by a local fashion designer in the middle by the name of Kay King. Kay King, if anyone on this call remembers the Houston's Love Your Blue Days with the Houston Oilers, then you probably know her work. In 1978, the owner of the Houston Oilers, Bud Adams, asked her to personally design the costumes for the Derek Doll cheerleaders, requesting that they look sexier than the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. And she delivered. I would discover many years later that she actually had some influence on the costume I wore on my first job at Astroworld when it was actually an amusement park. Apparently, the mayor at the time, Roy Hoffines, asked her to design all of the costumes for Astroworld. Miss King's fashions went well beyond just uniforms. They popped up in local department stores and boutiques in the Houston area, and she became a staple in the local fashion scene for over 50 years. We are appreciative of her leadership as she has steered the Houston Community College fashion design program from the ground up when it was established in 1981 as a sewing program with the home economics department. HCC's Fashion Archive was created to become a fashion tool for our students. One of the many purposes the Fashion Archive serves a teaching tool. It documents and highlights the historical fashion trends in Houston, Texas. And for those that are not aware, HCC has a fashion design world-class school, and most of the garments in the collection are used as primary sources so that our students can examine pattern making, design, and textiles with real life examples. Andrea Bonner, who is our current chair of the fashion design program, can often be caught saying, know your history, fashion your future. And the courses that you see to the right side gives an example of how the archive is embedded in the curriculum. All of those courses require the students to examine the items in the archive. The earliest item, if you look to the left at the mule, can be dated back to, that mule is dated back to 1724. It is a green mule with a metallic embroidery that was actually almost thrown away. And we've been working with Bayou Ben in terms of helping to identify and accurately describe the items. The items in the collection span over 4 centuries. If you look at the item on the right side, that is a blue Pan Am stewardess uniform from the 1960s. So if you think all the way back to 1724, it's amazing that we have items here that really do span over 4 centuries. In 2008, the institution received its largest donation, which was over 4,000 pieces from the former president of the Costume Society of America, the late Elizabeth S. Brown, who was a well-renowned global fashion historian and a very good friend of Kay King. We started digitizing the collection in 2018. We really had no choice. Over the years, the garments were stored in inappropriate locations. They were subjected to environmental concerns like moisture, not in climate control atmosphere. Many of them had begun to shatter, and they were very frail because it was a collection. It is a collection that is actually being used by students. So all of that handling over the years made it imperative that we do something to preserve the collection. And so we wrote for a grant in 2017 and got awarded in 2018 to start digitizing the items. The funding was provided by the Institute of Museum and Library Services by way of the Texas State Libraries and Archives. The Physical Fashion Archive consists of a little bit over 8,500 items. And these items are a collection of men, women's, children's accessories, textiles, and they're divided into 4 separate collections. So within the archive, we have the historical fashion collection, the traditional costume collection, the alumni collection, and the textiles collection. Since 2018, we have digitized roughly 759 items, and we do have a goal of digitizing at least 85% of the collection by 2030. If you look over to the bottom right, you'll see Laura Winslow. She was our first curator, and she's having a conversation with Alex Chapman, who is our current curator, and an HCC fashion faculty, discussing how to design preservation bags. And in the top right-hand corner, you'll see our wonderful Shane Qureshi is taking photographs of the petticoat. Our curator team, generally when they make a decision to digitize an item, we try to focus on Texas-based designers and Texas-based department stores. The items that are marked for digitization go through a criteria, and the criteria is looking for items that have excellent needlework, technique, and stitchery for the students to examine. This particular image that you see, this is of one of the rooms that we have designated in the Fashion Archive is for our alumni. And this is the alumni collection room. The Fashion Archive, which if I didn't state this earlier, is actually stored in Midtown. It's a part of the central campus. So the physical address is 3601 Fannin Street. And we have designated rooms for the alumni collection, for the historical collection, for the traditional costume collection. This particular room is where we keep the works of Chloe Dow. If anyone is familiar with Chloe Dow, she is one of our beloved hometown favorites. She's a former HCC student, and she actually went on to win season 2 of Project Runway. What I like to do right now is just to focus on 3 items out of the archive to illustrate the significance of some of the work that we've done. This particular dress to the left is from the bridal party of Lucy Baines Johnson. We discovered in 2019 that we have a bridal party dress from Lucy Baines Johnson, the youngest daughter of former President Lyndon B. Johnson. She married in the White House August 6, 1966. We confirmed that it was actually accurate by one of the interns who Googled it. And lo and behold, we watched the wedding and we saw the image in the middle is from the wedding. And the hem of the dress is embroidered by the designer at the time, Priscilla of Boston, who embroidered the name of the bridesmaid, the name and date of the actual event, White House wedding. We were just all fascinated that we had such metadata sewn in the hem of the dress. It was an incredible discovery for us. The second item I'd like to highlight is Jean-Louis Bertholdt. We have an original Jean-Louis Bertholdt dress. This was a French-born Hollywood costume designer. He designed for Doris Day, Joan Crawford, Vivian Leigh, Julianne Andrews, Katharine Hepburn, Nancy Reagan, the Duchess of Windsor, and the list goes on. He received 13 Academy Award nominations and awards for his elegant costumes. And he is also famously the designer of the Happy Birthday, Mr. President dress worn by Marilyn Monroe, which got a lot of attention earlier this year when Kim Kardashian wore the dress to the Met Gala. Our John Louis gown is a brown silk chiffon wool crepe floor length long sleeve evening gown from the 1970s. And the last highlight I'd like to bring to your attention is from an alumni student, Kendall Ballmeyer. As stated earlier, the Fashion Archive is a teaching tool that also inspires HCC students such as Kendall Ballmeyer, who debuted her collection at Fashion Fusion in 2019. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, Fashion Fusion is a wonderful collaboration that HCC's fashion department has with the Museum of Fine Arts, where students taking the senior level fashion collections class, they must design 5 ensembles based on a current exhibit. And at the time of this particular Fashion Fusion, Van Gogh was the muse for this class, and Kendall found we have an 1890 bodice on the left side, and she got inspiration from looking at that and looking at the exhibit to create the look that you see to the far right, which was the bodice top. She created the pants. She actually embellished the shoes to match the entire garment. We're really proud of her for doing that. So, well, when you have a wonderful project, well, I think it's a wonderful project as such, a fashion archive, you're bound to have challenges and opportunities. One of the biggest challenges that we have in terms of digitizing and making this resource available is funding. Despite all of the work that we do, we have no dedicated budget, nor do we have a dedicated staff, which means when I am not doing my official job in the library, I am often the grant writer. I serve as the site administrator on the back end of the platform that houses the Fashion Archive. I serve as a project manager when we do get spurts of funding. I'm often listed as a principal investigator, and on occasion, I serve as a costume researcher. This year, we started a capital improvement campaign with HCC Foundation to help fundraise so that we can continue the digitization so that we meet our goal of 85% of the collection available online by 2030. We are looking to raise $75,000 to help towards that goal, and we are actually in the process of seeking to hire a part-time grant-funded archivist to help us create a finding aid. That's always a barrier to any project. You're going to always have funding concerns. Space is another concern that we have with this project. When I discovered the Fashion Archive at HCC, which was just random on a tour back in 2015, one of the things that caught my attention was we had this wonderful collection, but it was in two closets, basically two long closets. And so I do give credit to the administration at the Central Campus for identifying additional space and helping us expand. But even with that expansion and even with a replacement of the HVAC system so that we could have climate control atmosphere for the collection, we're still not enough space. So that's a concern, of course. And then the conservation of the garments. I mentioned about the age of the garments, many of them well over 100, 200 years old. Particularly in the period where at one point there was a leaky roof that led to moisture, that led to mold. We are desperately in need of some conservation for some of our garments. So to kind of spot treat them at the level that we're at, because we don't have a conservation person on staff, we've just created Tyvek enclosures to isolate them. So those are our challenges. What are our opportunities? We have several opportunities. The opportunity would be even one for tonight, just sharing this information with you, letting people know what we're doing. That's an opportunity for us. Myself and another librarian, we were able to go to Chicago to talk about this at a fashion art conference to let them know the conservation efforts, preservation efforts that we're doing here on a community college level. Collection development. So with the archive this size, we still have gaps in the collection. So there are periods and there are time, especially particular time periods between 1990 and up to now. You would think that we would have more of that, but we don't. We have more earlier historical pieces based on that large donation I mentioned that we got from Elizabeth S. Brown. So we really do need more contemporary pieces. I have a slide that alludes to that discusses the categories that we're looking for. One of the other things that we have as an opportunity is Google Arts and Culture. We are on the Google Arts and Culture platform. We got on the platform as of last month, and I cannot overstate how important that is for us to be accessible on the Google Arts and Culture platform. it's an invitation only process. Our photographer, on a whim, submitted the archive for inclusion back in 2019, not thinking that Google would respond, and they did. And when they responded, it took some time to get the contract signed, but eventually we were able to upload 150 pieces to Google Arts and Culture, and we also have an exhibit. So if you go to the platform, you type in HCC Fashion, you'll see the work that we've been doing with Google Arts and Culture. We're super excited about that. And this is just the front page for the entrance to the site. One other thing to mention about that, we are one of only 2 community colleges in the nation, in the United States, with a collection housed on this platform. And secondly, I believe we are one of 5 institutions from Houston that has a collection stored on the platform. So again, we were super excited to have that opportunity. Plus, it's going to create more exposure for the work that we're doing. So as I mentioned before, there's so many ways to help support the work that we're doing if anyone is interested. I have a slide coming up that shows the categories of garments that we're missing in case anyone is wanting to rummage through their closet to see if there's something that fits some of the categories that we're looking to build up. And we also have the capital improvement fundraising campaign that's going on to help us with continue our digitization. So that's storage closets that we have in the building to house the collection. We do have display areas. So if anyone was interested in wanting to see the collection, there's something that we can certainly arrange. Within the collection, they want to expand. So looking for formal dresses from Texas-based influencers, socialites, cultural dress, performing arts costumes, textiles, uniforms, hip hop, street culture, fashion, accessories. Those are the things that we are looking for. If anyone is interested in donating, the curator, our curator, his name is Alex Chapman. That's his email address. You can also contact me as well in terms of if that's something that you feel like you're interested in doing. And if you want to follow us on social media, these are all of our handles. We're on all of them. TikTok, Instagram, not so much on Facebook, but for sure on Pinterest. And that really concludes, that's an abbreviated version of it, but that concludes my presentation tonight.
Okay. Well, we even had some excitement, so that got everybody on the edge of their seat, right? Let me ask you before I forget, Erica. There is I know you can access the collection through Google Arts and Culture, but there is a website that goes directly to the collection as well.
Yes,
right?
It was on the homepage, and I probably should have spent a little bit more time on that. It's Fashion Archive at .hccs.edu. So I can put that in the chat so that if anyone wants to look at it real quick, they're able to do that.
Yeah, that would be great. And we'll also make sure that it's in the follow-up email when we send out the recording at the end of the week. So everybody will have that direct link. And, it's really, well, first of all, let me back up a second. So we're happy to take your questions. As I mentioned, you can send those in using the Q&A feature or using the chat window. And We will get to as many of them as we can. So if there's anything that you're curious about, now's the time to ask Erica. And I'm going to lead off with a question of my own because I spent a good bit of time looking through the collection online, preparing for tonight. And just from a technical standpoint, the way that the items are photographed, do you guys have like a formula that you use to photograph the items? I mean, is it overall shot, detail shot? How exactly does that work, and who sets those standards?
So the first grant that we received, we got some technical training from the Smithsonian. And so we're using their digitization standards. So we're using a high resolution, and it's at 6,000 DPI, if I remember correctly. And the shots, we have a dedicated photography lab inside of the fashion building. So we try to make sure that the backgrounds are consistent, but we use a gray background, but if you look at it closely from year to year, sometimes the shades of gray, they differ ever so slightly, but I can tell that the background has changed. But yes, we use the standard from the Smithsonian digitizations policies to make sure that we're consistent. We try to do 5 shots, sometimes 4 per item. We'd like to do the front, the back, the side, and we're very intentional about photographing the label, the designer's name, if that's indicated, and something compelling about that particular garment. So we go in for any kind of detail. We like to make sure that there is a good image of that, because our students, like we said, we've restricted many of them now from going into the archive, handling the real fragile garments. So we really want to have high definition imagery so that they can see this online.
Yeah, that would be. I imagine that you were terrified sometimes when these things would be taken out and handled. As a conservator yourself, you must have been like, "No, it's not a good idea to touch that."
I mean, it does make your heart skip a beat. And so the first curator that we have, I really appreciate her dedication towards it. She made everyone use shoe covers, and everyone had gloves on. I mean, this is well before COVID. Everyone had a mask on and a apron, and I mean, we followed really strict guidelines to try to ensure, like I said earlier, we don't have a conservator dedicated to this. So we're trying to do the best we can do until funds will allow us to get some conservation treatment in the future.
And can you remind me how many pieces there are in total?
So there's a little bit, if I had to give a number, 8,569, somewhere like that.
More or less, yeah, give or take.
It's a little bit over 800. It's 8,569 for sure. So those are the numbers that's what we're dealing with, and we've only digitized 759 pieces. That's what's in that website that I just posted on chat. So we have a very ambitious goal to get all of those pieces into the archive over the next 8 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of photos to take, but I'm excited to see. Taylor Kidd has a question for you that I think kind of follows on to talking about some of these challenges. He asks, what are the unique challenges that you face when you're conserving a working collection?
So when you say working collection, the unique challenges we have with that is just really handling of the garment. So let's say we're dealing with something that's nylon. Well, we're not too worried about nylon. Nylon will be here when we're long gone. So the nylon is here to stay. But if it's something, depending on the textile, depending on the shape of the garment and what we're talking about, it's something very fragile. Oh, of course, there's always concerns about it. And I mean, there's a collective decision. I don't think anyone just haphazardly goes in there students can't go in there by themselves. They have to have an appointment. They have to meet with the librarian. They meet with their faculty members. So if they are handling it, they take it out, they put it in an acid-free box. I guess my concern is there have been occasions where we have a VR, AR department that wanted to come in and do some 3D scanning. And so when you say you want to take something out of the archive, then another heartbeat jumps. And so we had to create some sort of borrowing process to make sure, almost make the person sign their name in blood, making sure, you take it out, we have to get it back. So just little things like that. But we want the students to be able to touch and view and see it, if possible. Of course, if it's something fragile, no. But if something that they can actually look at, because we need for them to be able to examine stitching, examine how something is made so that they can get inspired and use that for their classwork.
So the high-res photography and I guess the 3D scanning really would allow them to see that stitching and see how the garment is put together.
Right. Yeah. That's a goal. That is a goal for us to help with the preservation pieces for those real fragile pieces. Yeah.
And what are the most, talking about, nylon is going to outlive us all. I know there's a vinyl dress in there that probably will still be here when, everything else is gone and that vinyl dress will just be sitting there. But what are the most fragile materials or the most fragile items?
It's the lace. We have a lot of a lot of lingerie, early 19th century lingerie that came with the collection that was donated by the late Elizabeth Brown, the CSA former president. So she went around the world collecting things. And a lot of her pieces, early American pieces, especially if they're made out of lace or some of the cottons are fragile too. So anything that's early in the 1800s or the 1700s would be those items that we're more concerned about getting those digitized first and foremost, and then if possible, 3D scanned.
And I don't know how much you know about like the provenance of some, we know the last person that they came from, but if you're talking about, a piece of, I'm thinking about that shoe from the 1720s. Do we have any idea how that survived? Was it just luck? I can't even imagine.
So she was a very detailed, Miss Brown was very detailed with this transfer. It took, I believe, 6 trips. The items came from New Jersey, many of them. And so we can only go by her documentation. And if there's a label inside of the shirt or dress or whatever, we have a librarian. Her name is Bethany Herman, and she does a lot of the research, the costume research for us. And she's a part of a network of art fashion librarians, and they consult amongst themselves in the event that there's something there that we can't answer. We do reach out for help for sure. We don't have the manpower to have a person that's dedicated to do. It would be great if we were set up like that, but we try to work in tandem as much as possible with other art libraries and other costume and textile archives.
It's nice to have that network of knowledge out there. So yeah, you can. I'm sure Google only gets you so far, and then you have to go to the experts.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to just Google and watch, the Johnson wedding. That's super handy.
Oh, I know.
Right?
It wouldn't it be an intern that says, "Hey, let's go online and this is the dress." We were like looking in the books, like, do we have a book from? And then she just went online and we saw the whole wedding. Like, oh my God, that's the dress. So that's exciting. And for students, for young, but just students in general to get involved. They're discovering, fashion history as something that needs to be discussed and something that they're taking an interest to themselves.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So Kim Nicholson says that she took a week-long fashion design immersive class from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago when she lived there. and they got to spend some time with the collection. So she's wondering, and I think you did touch on this briefly, if your archive is ever open to see if there is like a particular design or style or designer that somebody is interested in seeing pieces by. I guess it's potentially available to students, but if you're not a student, is it accessible?
So we are making appointments for tours. So the key right now is we do have a small bit of money to hire an archivist to help us create a finding aid. It's one thing to say that you have 8,569 items. It's another thing to know where that tie is in that collection or those pair of shoes. And so we're working on creating the finding aid so that if, let's say, Miss Kim would like to come in and look at something, we know exactly what box, what room to pull that out from. So, I mean, the 759 items that are currently on the website, we have anything that's been digitized, organized, and segregated. Mm-hmm. The other items we would have to, take a dive, do a little deep diving to locate, but I'm sure we'd find it. So yes, Kim, if you'd like to come to the archive, feel free to contact me. We're happy to do, anyone on the call, we're happy to set up a tour so that you can actually see what we're doing. Yeah,
that would be really cool. It just blows my mind, the things that are in there. And then when you think about the breadth of the collection and 8,000 pieces, there's so much more than, you could ever talk about.
Absolutely, we would be on the phone on this call all night talking about those. And I really would be the wrong person. It would take Alex Chapman, the curator, who's been there the longest and knows a lot of provenance just because he met Miss Brown and worked with K. King. He would have all the details. And actually, I should have invited him to be on the call tonight because he could have really gone deeper into more of the, I do the hard work, right? The librarians are going to always write the grants and do that work. Our other comrades will do the fun work. So, but it's all fun. It's all fun.
Oh, it's all fun. Yeah, it's fun in different ways, right?
Yeah, it is. It is having a chance to talk about it. So I see Emily, formerly of HCC. It's Kim from City of Houston Legal.
Yep. So Kim, yes, Kim works in the city's legal department, and Emily, whose question I'm about to ask, is Emily, who used to be on the historical commission, but now she works for Preservation Houston. So anybody who didn't know, then that news is out there, which is a great segue into Emily's question. So I like that we're just sliding right in there. Emily is curious if you have a personal favorite piece from the collection.
Oh, there's so many. Please don't make me pick. Please don't make me pick.
Let's say, are there, I don't know, 2 or 3 that come to mind that you just are really thinking about right now?
Yeah. There's a piece. Can I just go to the site? Would it be okay? Or would that mess up what we're doing?
No, I think it'd be great. You can share your screen and let's do that.
Okay. Can you all see my screen now?
Not yet.
Okay. This is the entry page, the entrance, the splash page is what they probably don't call it that anymore. You click on search archive. And so we have a rotating collection that pops up, and then it gets into the collection, and you ask the question about which one did I like, my favorite. There's this, I'm just going to show it, Leonard Arkin. It's just a beautiful, I just love this one. Put myself out of the way. It is a silk dress and coat. I think what I love about it the most, and I want to show you what we were talking about. We made an effort to make sure that, like I said, we were adhering to the Smithsonian's digitization guide so that students could actually get a real good experience zooming in. And you know why I love this dress? I love this. I love this. Cool. You open the coat and you just see this beautiful beautiful green silk dress. I love the detail.
Now, I feel like Emily's next question is going to be, are these available to try on? And I think I know the answer to that, but
No, Emily, never. Never,
oh,
never, never, never.
that's super
No,
cool.
I love, so there's so many treats in the archive. It's really hard, but I love this one. We have some beautiful wedding dresses.
Mm.
Let me show you. Early
I think,
American wedding dress. I'll just type in wedding so you can just see them. They're
oh,
just
wow.
gorgeous. This was something that we did recently. So we added a textiles collection with the last grant that we received. So this is a part of Caroline Saber. She is, I should say, a textiles artist. She traveled all over Asia. She collected beautiful textiles, and she used to present at the International Quilt Show. She won several awards for some of her quilts there. But anyway, I just love the fact that this is a part of, in Japan, this is a part of your wedding futon if you were a part of a wedding party in Japan.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm not going to answer all of that because it's so many beautiful things. You could just spend all day going through the collection until you find something, that really strikes your fancy. Who doesn't love a good Chanel? This is another one. Actually, we have a 1970s. This is our exhibit, our items from the 1970s. And this is a beautiful Chanel suit.
Hmm.
So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we make sure we capture the labels. As the young people say now, we have to show our receipts. And so we try to, like I said before, we try to zoom in so that students can really see how the embroidery, look at that detail. I have to give, kudos to Shane, our photographer. He does beautiful work. Beautiful.
Yeah, well, and having everything lit so that you can see it is also, I mean, there's an art to that for sure.
Yes, lighting is certainly, I didn't understand the value of it until we got into this process. So it's been a learning experience for us all.
Now you can, when you're on the website, you can also, if I remember, you can search by keywords. So I remember seeing a page where there's just a ton of keywords. So like if you want to see things from Neiman Marcus, there's a Neiman Marcus keyword, or things from a certain designer, you can click on their name, and you can just sort of keep filtering, right? And see.
Right. Yeah. Again, that's something that our librarian, she does the metadata cataloging for all of the items, the description, and she makes sure that she's adding tags and metadata to all of the imagery. So you can just click on, if you want to see all gold dresses, click on gold dresses and all of them will pop up. We try to make it easy to search through so that it's not cumbersome for students.
Now,
sure.
I do have a question that just occurred to me while we were looking at some of those things, because a lot of what we've seen is women's wear. What do you think the balance is between women's and men's items in the collection?
Oh, unfortunately, Jim, it's probably about 90-10.
Oh, okay.
90-10.
So the guys really need to step up, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't even think I listed, and so I didn't even put that on the categories of of items that we're looking for. But yes, we do need more menswear, traditional menswear. We need menswear, period. Yeah.
Okay. I do remember seeing, when I was browsing through, I remember seeing like some formal wear, like top hat sort of things. But I guess, the thing about it is, a lot of what men, I mean, I wear a plaid shirt. Like, is anybody going to want to see that 100 years from now? Maybe not.
it's still important to document what men wore. Again, like we were talking about before we came on, what you wore said so much about your place in society, what you did for a living, where in terms of culturally, where you're from, the tribe you represent, all of that is just important information to convey. And so we are deficient in menswear. So I would add that verbally to my list of items. So Jim, hint, hint, if you have something
Right.
there that you feel could be beneficial, like I said,
Yeah.
Alex loves to go around. He collects. I don't recall Alex saying no really too much, but we do have a collection development guidelines. So just so you know, we just don't take everything. We do look for things that provide benefits to our students in terms of the way that something is made, the stitching, the needlework, the application, all of that matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to just be able to go clean out my closet and wheel it down the street. Okay.
No, just
All
go
right.
ahead and
Well,
go over to Goodwill, probably where your
oh,
car was headed.
you're right. You know me well, Erica. It's so fascinating to think about, all the stories that these pieces can tell us. And I'm really excited to see as more of it gets digitized and more of it becomes available, where it takes y'all. It is also incredible to think about what you've done with, the with the staffing that you have. I mean, you mentioned that you don't have a person dedicated to this and that, but I think y'all are doing
Yeah.
very well.
Thank you. I mean, it's like I said, we're all committed. All of us that are volunteering are committed to seeing this through, and we feel the students get so much value out of it. And now that we have a little bit more exposure with using Google's platform to kind of share the collection beyond Houston, we're hoping that it's a teaching tool, it's a marketing tool, it turns into lots of different things for HCC. It's something to be proud of as well. So I do hope that we can get more grant funding to supplement and be able to continue with the digitization process and find more treasures. So how many more dresses like we just stumbled across Lucy Baines Johnson's dress? I mean, who does that? So I'm sure there are other things that we just haven't gotten to because of not having time to do it. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to share this with Houston. And we really want to see more Houstonians in terms of we're looking for Houston department stores. If you have something that has that Sakowitz label or those can't even think the stores that we used that have gone out of business. We're looking for those labels as well to add to the collection. Sakowitz just comes to mind. We have a whole exhibit on Sakowitz family, but there are other department stores beyond that tells a tale of Houston, talks about the history of Houston through the garments and the people that were making the clothing.
Yeah, and there were some real, I mean, there still are, but there were some really high-end local boutiques back in the day that were selling, really, really extravagant fashions back in the oil boom days. So I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stuff floating around out there.
Yep, we're looking for those ladies.
Yeah, and those guys.
And those guys.
Okay.
Those ladies were the ones that were dictating where they were buying their clothing.
Well, that's true. The guys were just like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Are there any Fashion Archive events or anything like that coming up that we should know about?
Last week we had Fashion Fusion at the Museum of Fine Arts. I wish if we could have kept that earlier schedule, I was going to plug that particular event. Our students have a fashion show every semester. So in December, I don't know the exact date, and I'll get that before you send out the review for the others that missed it tonight. There's a fashion show. We always have them at the Central Campus. They're always on campus, and we sell tickets so anyone is able to attend. You don't have to be a student. They're open to the general public. So we have those events coming up every semester. So there will be a December fashion show, and then there will be a May fashion show. And that
Oh,
really
cool.
helps to support our students and their creativity.
Yeah, good for them to get some exposure. And yeah, are the students their own models?
No, no,
Oh,
there's a whole model casting call, and they treat it like a little mini version of Project Runway.
okay, that's exciting.
It is
That'd be fun to
exciting.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I hope folks will check that out. I think it sounds like Kim is determined to come and see the archive, so hopefully you'll get some traffic. Um,
Kim,
Emily's
please
gonna
come.
Emily's gonna come and sneak in and try things on, so you just got to keep an eye on her. No, I'm glad that people are so excited. It's really a wonderful thing, and we'll have to have you back as you digitize more and can talk about where the collection's going.
Happy to do that. Next time I'll bring the curator, Alex, who can tell you all where all the bones are buried behind a lot of stuff in the fashion design department, and just a real fun person to talk to. And he's because he is the fashion faculty and / curator. Again, other duties as assigned, but he loves the Fashion Archive. This is his gives him life. He told me it gives him life is how he describes it. So I'm happy to come back and bring Alex and even Bethany, and they can talk more about how they go down these rabbit holes looking up something from 1752 to try to make sure that what's on the tag is actually legit.
Yeah, that's amazing. Carrie Gelzer is apparently looking at the website because she says the digitized photos are so beautiful, and they are. She's right, especially when you get in and you can really see like the needlework. It's just incredible.
Thank
So
you, Carrie. I'll pass that on to Shane, our photographer. He'll appreciate that.
yeah, there's a lot to look at. So I think everybody's going to spend the rest of the night with one eye on election returns and one eye on fashion, that's a good balance, right?
That's a good balance. Exactly. Exactly. And
Yeah.
please go to the Google Arts and Culture platform as well, because we do have an exhibit on there that talks about the Fashion Archive too.
Erica, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate this look into a fascinating collection.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the talk.
Great. Well, have a good night, everybody, and we will see you very soon.
Good night, everyone.